Mr. President, I'm Durufashi, representing Kitino Central District. I write to second that the vote for proceeding of Wednesday, 24th January 2018 be approved as moved by the single senator.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the votes and proceedings of Wednesday, 24th January 2018 be approved, say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Votes and proceedings of Wednesday, 24th January 2018 is hereby approved. Announcements. Letter from St. Magnus Abbey. Mr. President, notification of my thanksgiving. God has been gracious to me and my family after 2 years of torturous journey, encompassing cancellations, shifts in election dates due to insecurity and a tough legal battle. He culminated by the grace of God to my electoral victory and return to the 8th National Assembly. In consultation with some of my colleagues who participated in the election, we decided to have a Thanksgiving celebration to Almighty God for His mercies and grace over the years. In light of the above, I write to most respectfully invite you and my distinguished colleagues to honor us by gracing this occasion with your esteemed presence on the 10th of February 2018 by 10 a.m. at St. Paul's Anglican Cathedral Church, Garrison Junction, Abba Road. The reception follows by 1 p.m. at Port Harcourt Polo Club, Tombia Street, GRA, Port Harcourt. Whilst looking forward to your distinguished presence at the occasion, please accept as always the assurances of my esteemed regards, St. Magnus Abbey. We announce the committee membership for Senator Victor Ome, Vice Chairman Employment, Labour and Productivity, Member Trade and Investment, Member Environment, Member Finance, Member Land and Housing, Member Petroleum Resources Upstream, and Member Culture and Tourism. Petitions? Leader of the Senate. Point of order, Senator Gumel.
Mr. President, my name is Senator Abdullah Gumel. I come from Chigawa, north of Alaska. Mr. President, I want to come under Order 42 and 52. Can I read, Mr. President?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, if possible, be referred to the President of the Senate before commencement of the day sitting. The President of the Senate shall refuse to allow the claim unless he is satisfied that the matter is definite and urgent. Can I go ahead, sir?
Yes,
I want to announce the death of Justice Mustafa, the former Chief Justice of Nigeria, who is my constituent.
Distinguished colleagues, Senator Gumel did approach me and in line with our rules. I need the leave of our colleagues to move this motion. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Go ahead, Senator Gumel.
Justice Mustafa was born in Babra in the year 1942, 15th July. Nigerian juries. In 2011, he was appointed the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Nigeria. He served as Chief Judge of Kano State Judiciary from 1979 to 1985. As a member of the Court of Appeal from 1985 until 2003. He was the acting Chief Justice of Nigeria, and was from that time until he became the Chief Justice of Nigeria. His educational qualification, he started from Babra Elementary School, 1950 to 53, Gurnu Kudu Middle School, 1954 to 1956, Rumfa College, Kano, 1957 to 1962, Ahmed Bello University, Zaria, 1963 to 1964, University of London School of Oriental and African Studies, 1964 to 1967, Inns of Court School of London, Middle Temple, 1964 to 1967, Nigerian Law School, 1967 to 1968, Employment, Private Legal Practice, 1968 to 1976, Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice, Kaduna State, 1976 to 1978. Judge High Court of Kano, 1979. Chief Judge, Kano State Judiciary, 1979 to 1985. Justice of the Appeal Court, 1985-2003. Justice Supreme Court of Nigeria, since 2003. Other employment, regular contributor discussion, BBC West African Service, BBC News, 1964 to 1967. Member, Kano Emirate Council, 1968 to 1975. Member, Kano Metropolitan Council, 1969 to 1973. Non-Executive Director, National Electric Power Authority Board, 1974 to 1976. Director, Kano Cooperative Bank, now part of the Unity Bank, 1972 to 1976. Attend many conferences, both local and international. Commander of the Order of Niger, CON, 2003. Commander of the Federal Republic, 2008. Grand Commander of the Order of Niger, GCON, 2011. He is married to Hajia Fatima Dair Mustafa with 3 children, Khadija, Kaloma, and Suleiman. He has 9 grandchildren, with Nabil being the oldest and Muhammad Bashir being the youngest. Mr. President, I would like the Senate to observe Aminu Salim in his honor and send a delegation to condole his family and government and people of Jigawa State. Mr. President, I so move.
Mr. President, my distinguished and eminent colleagues, I stand to second the motion so ably moved by my very respected colleague, distinguished Senator Gumel. Mr. President, as a lawyer, I feel pained that at a time when this country requires the services, expertise, experience, and knowledge of a jurist such as the late Chief Justice of this country, Mustafa, God has chosen in his wisdom to call him home at this time. I was privileged to be one of the senators who were here when he was screened to become the Chief Justice of this country. And I remember his candor, his humility, his experience, and his commitment to the law and to the judiciary in this country. It is noteworthy that during his time as the Chief Justice of this country, several controversial issues came up, but he was able to steer the judiciary and handle matters in such a manner as not only to preserve the integrity of the judiciary, but the unity and strength of our country. It is this gentleman that has now been called to eternal rest. I want to thank my distinguished colleagues for having so clearly eulogized him and brought this matter to the attention not just of the Senate but of the entire country. And I join other Nigerians in praying that God Almighty will receive his soul, grant him eternal rest, and give strength and succor to his family. It is my prayer that this country will do more to remember those who have served, such as the late Chief Justice of this country. Thank you, Mr. President, and I hereby second the motion. Thank you very much.
Yes, Senator Barajibri.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am Baraj Jibrin. I represent Kano North in this August Senate. Mr. President, first of all, I would like to condole the people and commiserate with the people of Jigawa and Kano State and the entire people of this country for the death of former CGN of this country, Nahiru Mustafa. Nahiru Mustafa was a legal luminary par excellence who served this country with merit. His service to this country did not stop within the confines of the legal profession. It extended beyond that. As you could hear from the citation that was read by his representative in this chamber, Senator Gumel, he served in different areas where he helped to develop this country faithfully. He was a man who was dedicated to his duty, who did everything to see that whatever he was given as a duty, he did that with the greatest attention and dedication. His loss is not only going to affect Kano or Jigawa State, but it's going to affect the entire country. He did very well. We are going to miss him. Somebody that was very humble and was very, very ready to assist in areas that was called upon to help humanity, to help his people, to help his religion, and to help anybody who came calling for his assistance. I would therefore pray that may he reside in Adjournment Fidelity. Thank you, Mr. President, for this opportunity to contribute on this very motion. Thank you.
Yes, Senator Lidani.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Joshua Lidani. I represent from the South. I rise to join my colleague, Senator Gumel, in thanking this Senate for the opportunity to talk about the late Justice Nahiru Mustafa of blessed memory, who was the CJN of Nigeria until he was CJN of Nigeria, and like Senator Magnus said, we had the privilege of screening him in the last Senate, and he came out as a very forthright, honest, and committed jurist. I've had the privilege of appearing before him in the past when he was a Justice of the Court of Appeal in Jos. I also had the privilege of appearing before him. When not appearing before him, when I was in the university and they came as judges of the moot court when we were students. And I know him to be a very erudite jurist, somebody with a very fantastic memory. I remember that he was so much familiar with the law reports called Northern Nigeria Law Reports that if you cited any case in the Northern Nigeria Law Reports, he will tell you who was the judge that read that judgment in that case. So he was so brilliant, he was very forthright, and he didn't miss words. If you as a lawyer was very tardy in appearing before him, or you made some mistakes, he will come out openly and berate you. So he was that kind of person, and he inspired confidence among the younger lawyers. If you are a young lawyer and you appear before him, he tries to assist you, to guide you and to mentor you. And he therefore came out as one of the first-class brains that we had in the judiciary in this country. He rose through the ranks. He practiced as a staff of the Ministry of Justice, State Council, became Attorney General, and later became a judge of the High Court. He rose to become the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Nigeria, and we've had the benefit of so many cases that he's presided over, which have now become locus classicus in the annals of the judiciary in this country. So we like to commend him for the life that he has led, a worthy and exemplary life, and we believe that he has left a legacy that will not be easy to fill in the annals of the judiciary of this country. We pray that his soul will rest in perfect peace, and may the legacies that he has left continue to be something worthy of emulation among the lawyers, among the judges, and the general body of judiciary in this country. Thank you, Mr. President.
I'll go straight to the prayers. Prayers, one is that like the Senate to observe 1 minute silence in his honor, and prayer 2 is to set delegation to condole the people and government of Jigawa State. So I'll take the first prayer. Those in favor of prayer 1 say aye. Those against say nay. Yes, have it. Prayer 2, those in favor of prayer 2, let's send a delegation to condole the people and government of Jigawa State and family. Those in favor of prayer 2 say aye. Those against say nay. Yes, have it. Can we stand up and observe the minute's silence in his honor? Senate. Yes, point of order, Senator Mustafa.
Thank you, Mr. President. My distinguished colleagues, Mr. President, I want to come under Order 43. Personal explanation.
Right.
By the indulgence of the Senate and the leave of the President of the Senate, a senator may make a personal explanation, although there may be no question before the Senate. But no controversial matter may be brought forward, nor may
debate arise upon the explanations. The terms of the proposed statement shall be submitted in detail to the President of the Senate when his leave to make it is sought. Mr. President, my well-respected colleagues, I want to bring to the notice of this Senate the resolutions of the meeting we had with top management of NNPC still on the lingering fuel crisis in this country. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, you will recall that during our recess, you directed the committee to come back and parley with members, with management of NNPC over the fuel crisis, which we did, and we started seeing results when the cities of Lagos and Abuja were cleared, and we are hoping that in the next couple of days, the situation would be over. But suddenly, we started seeing the resurgence of the queues, which I discussed with you, Mr. President, and in your instructions, we summoned NNPC to give them a marching order after due consultations with them. We did just that yesterday. We listened to them. We called them on 3 key issues. 1, to brief the committee and by extension the Senate on why the queues are back. 2, to tell us their challenges. And 3, to tell us what needs to be done to clear the queues in the country. On what happened, on the reasons why the queues were back, they told us that the combined issues still of supply gap, coupled with massive smuggling across our borders, which is quite alarming, Mr. President. Even day before yesterday, I saw on national television where customs officials intercepted more than 3,000 jerrycans of fuel. That is in addition to the one that to the quantities being smuggled across our borders. On their challenges, they still talked about again the problems of smuggling, lack of compliance by marketers to sell at approved pump price. They told us that any liter of fuel we see in the country is brought in by NNPC as at today, and NNPC sells at the control price till today. Therefore, anybody selling above the pump price is doing so at his own will. Mr. President, they told us the cooperation they require from the security agencies, customs, and everything. So, in submission, the committee took a resolution which we issued for and on behalf of this Senate. And with your permission, I read the resolution, Mr. President. Joint Committee on Petroleum Resources of Senate and House of Representatives, resolutions on fuel scarcity. The Joint Committee on Petroleum Resources, Senate and House of Representatives, acting on the mandate of the leadership of the National Assembly, met on Wednesday, January 24, 2018, and resolved as follows. 1. Direct the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, to ensure adequate supply of premium motor spirit, otherwise known as petrol, and disappearance of queues at our petrol stations nationwide within 7 days. 2. Direct the Nigerian Customs, Police, Army, Air Force, Navy, Civil Defense, and Department of State Security Services to ensure effective border control to curb smuggling of petroleum products to our neighboring countries. And 3. Direct the Department of Petroleum Resources to double its efforts in enforcing price control and monitoring. Your Excellency, this is for the information of Senate and endorsement. I thank you Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Marafa. I presume that definitely the substantive report is still coming. I think you're just bring this to our attention for us to know where you are, and more importantly, to be clear to the NNPC that they must go and make sure that these queues that exist disappear on the timeline which you have given me 7 days. We take note of that, and we hope that by next week you will have your report that addresses the terms of references that were given to you, and make sure, and also within that week you can come back to confirm to us that NNPC has complied with these resolutions that you have taken. This matter needs to be brought to an end. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the first business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of Senator Bala Ibn Nalla, the Deputy Leader, on the Armed Forces Comfort Act, Cap A 21-11 2004, Amendment Bill 2018. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Armed Forces Comfort Act Cap A21-LFN 2004, Amendment Bill 2018, SB 600, first reading.
Armed Forces Comfort Act Cap A21-LFN 2004, Amendment Bill 2018, SB 600, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the second business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of Senator Isa H. Misau on the Federal College of Education, Misau, Bauchi State Establishment Center Bill 2018. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Federal College of Education, Misau, Bauchi State, Establishment Etc. Bill 2018, SB 604, first reading.
Federal College of Education, Misau, Bauchi State, Establishment Etc. Bill 2018, SB 604, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the third business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of Senator Piodi Oji on the Federal College of Education Technical Arochukwu, Abia State Establishment Etc. Bill 2018. Mr. President, we wish to invite the Clerk of Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Federal College of Education Technical Arochukwu, Abia State Establishment Etc. Bill 2018, SB 601, first reading.
Federal College of Education Technical Arochukwu, Abia State Establishment Etc. Bill 2018, SB 601, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the fourth business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of Senator Peter Wabush on the Federal Polytechnic Kwale, Delta State Etc. Establishment Bill 2018. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Federal Polytechnic Kwale, Delta State Establishment Etc. Bill 2018, SB 603, first reading.
Federal Polytechnic Kwale, Delta State Establishment Etc. Bill 2018, SB 603, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the fifth business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of Senator Malang Aluwakili on the Federal College of Education, DAS, Bauchi State Establishment Etc. Bill 2018. Mr. President, we wish to invite the Clerk of Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Federal College of Education, DAS, Establishment, etc. Bill 2018, SB 605, first reading.
Federal College of Education, DAS, Establishment, etc. Bill 2018, SB 605, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the first order of the day is a motion standing in my name on the executive communication from Mr. President CNC on the 2017 Delta Development Commission NDDC appropriation in accordance with Section 18, subsection 1 of the Niger Delta Development Commission Establishment the Act Cap N86-11 2011. Distinguished senators will recall that the request from Mr. President CNC on the 2017 Niger Delta Development Commission NDDC appropriation was read yesterday, Wednesday, the 24th of January 2018. Mr. President, with your permission, I wish to move that the request be referred to the relevant committee for further legislative action. I so move.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that the Senate do consider the request of Mr. President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces for the approval of 2017 Niger Delta Development Commission budget estimate as so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that would refer this request to the relevant committee say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. This is referred to the Committee on Niger Delta. Leader of the Senate. 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the second order of the day is the presentation and consideration of the report of the Committee on Trade and Investment on the Oil and Gas Export Free Zone Act Cap D5 LFN 2011 Amendment Bill 2018. Distinguished senators will recall that the report of the committee was laid on Wednesday, the 20th of December 2017. Mr. President, you may wish to invite very distinguished Senator Sabo Mohammed to move the motion for the presentation and consideration of the report.
Senator Mohammed Sabo Mohammed.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Senator Sabo Mohammed. I move that the Senate will resume consideration on the report of the Committee on Trade and Investment on Oil and Gas Export Free Zone Act, Cap D5 LFN 2011 Amendment Bill 2018 SB6. I so move.
Senator Gilbert Naji.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, my name is Chairman Senator Gilbert Naji. Mr. President, I move that the Senate do consider the report of the Senate Committee on Trade and Investment on the report of a bill on oil and gas export free trade zone authority Act Cap 05 LFN 2004 to provide for the designation and the establishment of oil and gas free trade zone in Nigeria. Amendment Bill 2018. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the Senate do consider the report of the Committee of Trade and Investment on Oil and Gas Export Free Zone Act Cap D5 LFN 2011 Amendment Bill 2018 SB6. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader Senate, if you move motion resolve Committee of the Whole because we've already taken the report.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, I move that the Senate resolves the committee of the whole to consider the report clause by clause.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that we resume continuation of the consideration of this report.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that we resume consideration of this report clause by clause and resolve to a committee of the whole say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, there are 16 clauses here. We'll start with clause 1. Those in favor of clause 1 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. As have it. Clause 2. Any comments on clause 2? Chairman, Senator Sabo, these clause 2 here, where the designated areas are mentioned in the law. So what happens if there are new places? Does that mean that the law has to be amended?
Captured by section B, which gives provision for any additional free zones if the need arises.
The B says amend, vary or add to the limit of any zone, which means it's an amendment to an existing zone. It doesn't take care of where it's a completely different zone. Are you with me?
So it's captured by subsection B. Amend, vary, and add to the limit of any oil and gas free zone, as the case may be. So that means we can add and delete.
No.
But
No. Your mic.
where?
Your mic.
It says amend, vary, or add to the limit of any oil and free zone. So, for example, the question I'm asking is that suggests that that amendment is within that area. So, if, for example, the zones you're talking about here is in Delta River State, and you want to establish an oil and free zone in Bauchi, how does that? Can you amend Delta free zone to now include Bauchi? How does that work? Yes, Central. Yes, Central London.
I think section 2.1 takes care of it. The president, on the recommendation of the authority, may, by order, designate any area within the Federal Republic of Nigeria as an oil and gas free zone. So it means the president can do that at any time. And then once he does it, you can amend. That is where the other section will come in.
Thank you for that clarification. So I'll put the question then. Those in favor that clause 2 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 3. Those in favor that clause 3 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 4. I put the question, clause 4. Those in favor that clause 4 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 5 on page 6. Clause 5. Those in favor that clause 5 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 6. Those in favor that clause 6 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Clause 7. Chairman, sorry, take clause 7, yeah, clause 7, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Clause 7, sub 2. The authority shall have powers to acquire land, hold, manage, and alienate movable or immovable property or assets and real estate vested on the existing federal and state authority or parastatal. Mr. Chairman, I'm wondering, does that not conflict with the Constitution? That land in states are vested under the authorities of the governors? Clause 7 sub 2. Is that not a conflict?
Senator Gobri?
No, I think Your Excellency, the way it is now, for example, if you look at the area of Oni, where they have this intel, they have the power to acquire some land somewhere and then clear it and then bring investors into the country. So they have that vested powers.
Yes, and I try to.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, the issue of acquiring land, first of all, by the Land Use Act, the ownership of the land resides with the federal government, not the state government. So if it's overriding public interest, the federal government can acquire land and make compensations. However, for the purpose of this, they can purchase land, and that doesn't mean that if you're purchasing a land, they have the powers to purchase land like any other organization, not necessarily just taking over the land. I think that is the context this bill is looking at.
Okay, I'll put your question then. Those in favor that clause 7 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 8. Chairman, in clause 8(2), why in the new amendment they've deleted except for those employees who work and reside in tax zone? That's question 1. Also, why have we removed a tax period in the new amendment? Can you please, Chairman, can you give us a background to this amendment to this bill? But I'm very concerned that if we're not careful, there will be abuse of these oil and gas zone. Because first of all the amendments I'm seeing here are things that will reduce government's revenue and significantly skew towards those who are seeking these kind of zones, because I really don't see. So I'm trying to understand what was the reasoning or the thinking to when you had the public hearing or discussion on this amendment. because I'm concerned that that there might be abuses if we're not careful. Because we're on 8 now. Why have we removed tax period? So which means once you're in that zone, it continues to be a tax-free zone. I guess that's what we're saying. And then 2, in most parts, it depends on what are we trying to encourage. If we're encouraging investment in the commercial side, well, here we're saying that if you live there and you work there, you're also benefiting from I see areas where you skew development there, and other parts of the communities will not have anything to develop. What is the advantage? What's the rationale behind it? I mean,
thank you, Mr. President. I think we took a general position here. The conclusion of all the stakeholders was to move the limit, the time frame within which to pay this tax. So we're just trying to do our job, and then if the purpose, I mean, we're here at the committee of the whole, so if there is need for any amendment, we're ready for it.
Yes, and already, yes.
Thank you, Mr. President. In any free trade zone, is always tax-free. Any business, any investor doing business there is always tax-free on tax-free basis. It's only when you are taking it out of the free trade zone then you pay tax. It's not exempting them completely, but those who are operating within that free trade zone, they are exempted. But as soon as you are taking it out of the free trade zone, then you pay your tax. Then you pay the custom duty.
But if I'm working and reside there, where am I taking it to? I thought that's always been the reason why you don't allow people to work and reside there, so that one way or the other, by the time they're moving out, you must take the tax on them, isn't it? Why was the advantage of removing A2 as initially it was in the original bill?
If you are doing business within the free trade zone, you don't pay tax. But as long as you remove it, as soon as you remove it out of the free trade zone, you pay your tax. You pay your tax on your goods, on the goods. You pay the tax on the goods as soon as you take it out of the free trade zone.
Senator Shafa.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Benga Shafa, Lagos Senatorial District. Mr. President, I believe it's an international standard. By international standard laws and regulations, this is a form of incentive for foreign direct investment or even local investors to come to that particular zone and do their businesses tax-free. Aside from that, sir, if you look at the amendment of Section 8, the second item 2, there it is mentioned that notwithstanding the provision of any other law, all employees in the free zones shall comply with the provisions of the Personal Income Tax Act. So which means, whichever way you look at it, they are still going to pay personal income tax. Thank you, sir.
John,
Mr. Chairman, my name is John Oneno, Cross River Central. Mr. Chairman, if you look at H2, you compare what was in the original provision and what it has now been amended to read. My concern really is, in the spirit of the free trade zone, it's run ordinarily as if it were a territory of its own. So it's if you look at the original provision that takes exception, it says except those employees in terms of the personal income tax. The amendment now, my concern is that isn't it likely even to be a disincentive for investment? That's what my concern is, because not just more in terms of the loss of revenue. The fact that you have even accepted that it's a free trade zone, right? What you lose in terms of these taxes and all that, you gain in terms of what investments take place there and the exports, and things like that. So either way. But when you now remove except those employees, which was contained in the original legislation, are you now not tightening it up, even for those who are interested in staying there and investing? That's actually where my concern is. So I'm wondering why we are removing that except. What are we gaining? What benefits? What are we,
Chairman.
I think, Mr. President, it's normal in trade-free zones. You don't pay tax. That's why we have customs in the zones. Whatever you produce, if you're taking it out of the zone, that tax will now be applied. Custom duties and whatever will apply. The whole purpose of this is to try and attract investment into that zone.
It's saying, aren't we better off with the original act then? Yeah, do you understand? It's the original one that, yes, that's the point we're making. Yes? Yes, Senator Alisa will apply.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think the issue is, I believe payment of income tax is based on where you reside. And that is why if you live, for example, in Suleja and you come to work in Abuja, it's expected that your tax will be paid where you are. So I think on this note, that provision that says except those employees who work and reside in the free zone. Sir? Thank you, sir. Sorry about that. Yes, what I'm saying is, impliedly, you pay tax based on where somebody resides. So, and that is the provision in the original one that was amended. So I think to me, that provision, except those employees who work and reside in the free zone, to me, serves the purpose more than the amendment.
Senator Barajibri.
The Chairman Barajibri North. The Chairman, this concept of this kind of zone is something that has been operational all over the world. It's an established kind of system. Now, for us to begin to go into guesswork, we want to go in line with international best practices. There's a need we look at what is happening elsewhere, where it has been successful, rather than to begin to guess here and there. The main purpose is to really be successful in operating this kind of system in this country. So let's not go into guesswork. Let's not find out what is operational, what is applicable to other zones in other parts of the world.
Chairman, Senator Sabo again, are you confirming to us that some of these amendments are in line with best practices, or how were they reached? What was the guiding principle to some of these conclusions?
Mr. President, I don't have any evidence to that.
Yes, Senator Dani.
I think, Mr. Chairman, from the provision of the Extant Act, it appears that enterprises residing within the free trade zone don't pay tax at all. So that has been the practice. It's only the amendment that is seeking to introduce a time limit, which now the committee, in its wisdom, recommended no, go back to the original provision in the Extant Act. So I think we should accept what is recommended.
Your Excellency, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I want to lend credence to Senator Barral. You see, sir, globally, sir, all free zones are expected to be a foreign land where some of those domestic laws do not apply. But as said by Mrs. Razaki, once you decide to opt out of the free zones, when you decide to convert those products into local products, then all other taxations applied, whether in terms of income, whether in terms of others. Our employees in the zones don't pay citizens because it is supposed to be a foreign land. That's why it's a free zone.
Okay, so what are we concluding now? So I'll put the question in. Those in favor that clause 8.1 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. Is 8.1 as amended? So if we don't want it, we'll nay it. Yeah. Those in favor that 8.1 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. Nays have it. It was the noise I heard. I didn't catch it. Huh? Huh? Yes, sir. Please, I can't hear you. So 8.2. Those in favor of 8.2 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. Nays have it. 8, 3, 4, and 5. Those in favor that 8, 3, 4, and 5 stands. No, those in favor that 8, 3, and 4 stands deleted, say aye. And those against, say nay. Let me put the question again so you can understand that. In line with what we've done, 3 and 4 should be nay. Yeah, those in favor that 3 and 4 stands deleted, say aye. Those against, say nay. Nays have it. 8.5. Those in favor that 8.5 stands retained and stands part of the bill, say aye. And those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 9. Yeah, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President. Really, I would like to crave the indulgence of my distinguished colleagues to bring to your notice some of the discoveries and happenings in this free trade zone. You see, the intention of government and the intention of this parliament is real and genuine. But this has become a drainpipe to government revenue. All these people, what they do is smuggling into the so-called free trade zone. And if you visit all the free trade zones in the country, there is nothing happening in terms of manufacturing, in terms of business activities. What they do is they bring these things in the name of free trade zones, we house them in the vast warehouses in Apapa, and these are all finished goods. And they end up not paying customs duties, not paying any tax, and most people doing this are foreigners. Foreigners, honestly speaking, sir. So we need to put some stringent measures if this policy must be allowed to continue. This is for your information. Thank you.
Distinguished colleagues, in fact, I agree with you that it's not part of this clause by clause deliberation. But you know, in my opening remarks, I made my concern that the intention of government is good, our intention in passing the law is good, but in practice, we have seen abuses of these kind of laws, no doubt. So we have no problem in going ahead and passing it, but we must have a way to check these abuses. And this is my own concern. Maybe the chairman will tell us as we go further down, we are putting certain clauses that would definitely prevent this kind of abuses. Otherwise, at the end of the day, we'll be passing these amendments. The investment will not be coming in. It is just that we are creating opportunity for our business. this is the area that, Chairman, maybe you have to reassure us that, or if you have not considered it, maybe it might be necessary for the committee to take note of these comments and see how you can include number of clauses that will address this issue of the abuse, so that we have confidence in passing it. Because I'm concerned that these kind of abuses, if not, maybe somebody can go and look at it and see whether you can look at how you can put stringent clauses that will ensure that these abuses will not continue. Chairman, your experience in this thing, so you should guide us.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think in any free zone, there are custom officers, there are other law enforcement officers. So if there is smuggling going on, it must be with connivance of all. And with or without free zones, we have smugglers anyway. So the fact that this is confined to a particular section or a particular place doesn't change the fact that it is smuggling. I would agree with Mr. President that probably there is need for us to consult and then see how we can take your advice and then build in certain mechanisms that will probably yes, exactly.
Yes, there's already a kind of motion which is no. The point we're saying is that if it is an enforcement, but if people have taken advantage of the fact there's a free zone, and over the period of time you have used that free zone under the abuse, you have been able to take an amount of revenue from government, what is the sanction? Because I've given you to go to a free zone on the assumption that you are bringing in investment, you are doing this, you are doing that. If I've now found out as government that zero investment, you've just gone there for malpractices, there should be a sanction. Maybe government should be able to say that all this amount I've recouped, you must bring it back into system, so that people are discouraged to not use as an abuse. And that's part, I think, that if we agree, let us tell the chairman to go back and look at those two clauses. Those in favor of that say aye, those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. Chairman, very distinguished colleagues, I move that the Senate reverse plenary for the chair to report progress.
Mr. Chairman, I second that the Senate refer to plenary to report progress.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that refer to plenary report progress say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, the Senate in a committee of the whole consider a report of the Committee on Trade and Investment on Oil and Gas Export Free Zone ACAP D5 LFN 2011 Amendment Bill and approve that the bill be referred back to the committee for further legislative action. It is a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the whole. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, due to the fact that our standing committees have the budget defense going on, I will move that we stand down the remaining items on the order paper till another legislative day to allow and enable our committees to continue with budget defense and other legislative activities. I so move.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that we stand down the remaining items on the order paper till another legislative day.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that we stand on the items on another paper to another legislative day, say aye. Those against say nay. Yes, I will. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, having concluded today's proceedings on the order paper, I hereby move that the Senate stands adjourned to Tuesday, the 30th of January 2018 at 10 a.m. prompt. So moved.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that the Senate do adjourn till Tuesday, 30th of this month at 10 a.m. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, before I put the question, just information, please. Distinguished colleagues, we have distributed the Senate standing orders for amendment. It's for consideration on Tuesday. It has been distributed to your respective mailboxes for you. Please try and get it so that you can study it over the weekend for us to consider it on Tuesday. Those in favor that the Senate adjourn to Tuesday, 30th January 2018, 10 a.m. prompt, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Senate is accordingly adjourned to Tuesday, 30th January 2018, 10 a.m. prompt.